Power to the truth. This is Margo. This is Sunday, February 3rd, 2019. 4:22 p.m. Pacific Time, United States of America. Getting a little bit of a late start today, but we've got a full show today. We've got 2 days worth of methane data to go over. We've got some articles I want to present. We've got comments to go over, and then of course our earthquakes, which are active today. So we're looking at CAMS, Copernicus Atmosphere Monitoring Services, and yesterday I showed you new data for Tuesday the 29th, and now they took that data off, and now they have Wednesday and Thursday up, the 30th and the 31st. So I've got Wednesday chosen as the base time, the 30th, to start with, and I've got the Arctic view and surface level. So I already have this movie loaded up, and so it picks up where we left off with the methane having gone all the way across to northern Greenland. It's a little jumpy this first time through. So remember, we've got data for the first day through there, and then the rest of it is forecast into the forecast period. So, but their forecasts are pretty good, and we've got data for Thursday that we'll look at in a moment here. Okay, so here it is at the beginning of Wednesday. This is where we left off from Tuesday, and where the methane had streamed across and then spread out. The release of it had spread out across this northern part of Greenland and these northern islands in Canada. And also there was a new release coming up out of the Chukchi Sea and coming across. And then this release was still happening over to the east of Novaya Zemlya. And we're also noticing the background color turning into this orangey, kind of this orangey reddish color. It's gathering more red in it all the time. So it's a mixture from about 2060 up to about 2100 is the background color, and then it goes up higher into these darker areas that can be anywhere between 2140 to 10,000 parts per billion. So let's watch it. Okay, so there's the end of Wednesday of what happened. So we see this wave moving across to the east, and then this wave moving on down into these Canadian islands, and then a large release to the east of Novaya Zemlya, and then it's spreading out, coming across the Chukchi Sea, coming across over to Alaska. And we are seeing lighter releases, like in this chartreuse color, about 2,000 parts per billion, coming across to the Bering Sea over here. And so there's that. And since we have data for Thursday, let's just start here. So this is, we can compare, that's where it left off, and this is where it starts up. And so this doesn't look the same to me. It is the same though. Okay, I have this movie loaded. And so as it goes into the forecast period, we're seeing a large release still over, just repeatedly coming up out of the Kara Sea, and then more coming up from Norway and from the Scandinavian countries, and then a new releases coming up out of the surface, out of Russia. And look at, there was a little burst right up here. It was in the forecast period on Saturday, which would have been yesterday. There was a little burst right up here on the coast of Canada. I'm going to see if I can pause it when it gets there. There, see that? See that burst? That's quite a lot. Quite a large release right there. Now they are doing drilling up along the coastline, so I don't know if that's from drilling or what that could be from, or clathrates. It's just hard to know. But then it, as it goes into the forecast period, we can see more releasing, just a lower level back over this Chukchi Sea, but it's just continually releasing over here in the Kara Sea, and it doesn't really stop. It slows down for a little bit, but then it's just this continuous release. So I'm going to pause that. And I wanted to show you sulfur dioxide real quick. Remember yesterday I showed you this release over from Brazil, total column on sulfur dioxide. Well, okay, if for people who didn't see my show yesterday, you'll be able to see it was a pretty large release. I don't know what it was from. And then this is total column, and so it's spreading out and coming across. Now that's into the forecast period, but we have sulfur dioxide data from today. So if we look at that, we can see that it's going down in strength. It's not red anymore, but it is still quite high. It's into this gold and tan region, 5 to 10 parts per million, and then this beige color is 2 parts per million. So I think it's still releasing, but just not as much. But today we can see that cloud moving over to the west. And remember, I said that, time and time again, I've seen this kind of release as a forerunner of a large earthquake that happens within a couple of days of where that was. I see the sulfur dioxide release, and there was an earthquake of 5 point something that happened over here in Ecuador, almost straight across from where that release was. So was that connected? I don't know. It could have been. It definitely could have been connected. So that's what I have for you on cams. Now I'm going to go ahead and share some articles with you. The first one is a blog post from today from Seymour Rocks, who's Robin Westenra, and it's just a compilation of the methane emissions in the Arctic, and it's an update actually from yesterday, and anyway, he goes over a video that had come out, and then he recorded a short video just with methane, recent methane, and then he recorded a video showing sea surface temperature and air temperature up in the Arctic, in this area where the methane is being released, and he uses Earth Null School for that, and to show that the surface temperature is pretty warm, comparable to the air temperature up there, and that wanted to show you, he did show the sea ice thickness and concentration. This is from the Navy military website from February the 1st, and we can see the ice here. Here's Novaya Zemlya, and the ice that has come back is quite thin. The most it is half a meter, it looks like, or maybe a little bit more than that. It's not very concentrated, and it's not very well put together. So that's the ice that methane is coming up through. So thank you, Robin, for this post and bringing this information together for us here. Then the next, I've got 3 articles I want to share with you that, when they're interesting and pertinent to what we're looking at, I always like to share. This first one is about a New Jersey nuclear reactor shut down by the polar vortex. This is in the United States. Now, New Jersey is over on the east coast of the United States, up in the northern part. And this is out of from Zero Hedge, and it came out on January 31st. By Tyler Durden. He says, after the Arctic polar vortex brought temperatures in parts of Canada to record lows that, in some places, rivaled the temperatures on the surface of Mars, not to mention leaving 9 people dead, and I think the last I heard there were 12 people dead from the cold. The infamous Arctic air has notched another milestone. It has shut down a nuclear reactor due to an extremely rare phenomenon called frazzle ice. Never heard of frazzle ice? Neither had we. And so here's a video talking about it. And apparently frazzle ice is from it's frozen like from the air, like from fog and air and stuff, and it's very small particles. And so what happened with this intake screens, where they take in the cool water to cool down the nuclear reactors, these screens got filled up with this ice, and it blocked the flow. And there's the 60-foot tall intake screens. That's what got blocked up. So they had to shut it down. And they're expecting to reopen in a couple of days after it starts warming up. So, you know, warm or cold, nuclear, they've got problems. Nuclear always has problems, whether it's warm, hot weather or cold weather. So I will leave the link below to these articles so that people can see them. The next one is out of The Guardian. This one is from Thailand, and it says, I tried not to leave the house. Bangkok in grip of pollution crisis years in the making. Schools forced to close, and residents fear for their health. Experts say the government is doing too little too late. Look at these girls with their masks on. I go out with a mask just because of all my allergies. Says women wear face masks as heavy air pollution continues to affect Bangkok. And so this whole article is this woman, 21-year-old law student, who hasn't left her house in 4 days because the air quality is so bad. And she says, when I look out of the window, it's all blurred because of the dust, so I don't want to breathe in that air. I eat what I have at home, and I try my best not to leave the house. The schools, the universities have closed down because of the buildup and the smog. Here's a picture. Close hundreds of schools. Look at that. That's an article. Experts have blamed policy failures for the air quality crisis. Here's another picture of it. And their solution is that they're going to use drones to spray water to wash down particles. And they're advising people not to use incense sticks during the upcoming Chinese New Year. So that's their solution to the pollution problem. Look at that drone. That looks so creepy. That just kind of flips me out. So there's that article. Then another article has to do with sulfur dioxide being released in Texas. And here's a report from the Texas Tribune. And I'd like to thank Marcia Noren from turning me on to this article. Report, unauthorized air pollution in Texas up 27% in 2017. Well, just wait until they get their 2018 numbers in. An analysis by the research arm of Environment Texas found that 275 companies across the state reported emitting 63 million pounds of hazardous and climate-warming pollutants from their facilities in 2017. And here's a sign on the beach. It says, caution, poison gas, H2S, that's sulfur dioxide, operations conditions, red, extreme danger. The state's natural gas plants, particularly those in West Texas, flare off tens of millions of pounds of toxic sulfur dioxide and hundreds of millions of pounds of poisonous hydrogen sulfide every year. Okay, this H2S is hydrogen sulfide. The S2 sulfur dioxide is S2O. Sorry about that. And then it goes on, but they talk about how sulfur dioxide is a big pollutant in oil drilling and oil manufacturing and different things. So this is a good article too. And we've seen all that sulfur dioxide, and even though it might not be real red, I mean, it doesn't have to be in the red for it to be releasing and dangerous like we saw. Like over here. See? It doesn't have to be in the red. But China is in the red with sulfur dioxide. It can even be like, see down here off at Texas, southern Texas, it's in the cream color. So that's a release. And even the green, that's release. So we just, we're not used to looking at this data, and we're not used to thinking about it in terms of air pollution and all the stuff that's adding to everything. So, no matter what they do, we're screwed. So now let's go over to comments. Excuse me, my allergies are killing me today. Also, I want to make a correction on President's Day. It's in 2 weeks. Somehow I had brain fog and was thinking about it and thought it was this weekend. But no, this weekend is Super Bowl. In fact, today is the Super Bowl. So President's Day will be observed in the United States on Monday, February 18th. I just wanted to clear that up. Okay, starting with some comments that came in under my video from 2 days ago. Daryl Williams says, I am from the Mohawk Nation in Canada. What is taking place is part of the natural cycle. We are going to enter the new world. All our prophecies and of all cultures speak of this cleansing time we are in. We can shift with Mother Earth by connecting, meditating every day, raising your vibration to hers. We will be guided into sacred places within the mountains for salvation. The Hopi are going into the Grand Canyon. There is a doorway portal down there. The Great Spirit always gives us a solution to every situation we encounter, but we must do the work to receive the guidance. Peace, love, no fear at all. Thank you, Daryl, for sharing that with us. And, I think it's interesting the way everybody is posting with their backgrounds and their beliefs and their cultures. And I think it's neat the way everybody is posting and coming together and sharing what gives them strength and what gives them the courage to go on. And I think meditating every day and raising your vibration and also saying prayers, I think that's the only way out. And a lot of people are not going to be taken physically, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. In my mind, what matters is what's in your heart spiritually. So it doesn't matter what happens to the physical body in my mind. But thank you for sharing that, Daryl, and welcome. Then Doogie Dog says, hi, Marlo. I think he made a typo. But anyway, I'll be Marlo. Gee, I had the most unusual dream this morning, perhaps a vision. When I woke, I felt it was more than a dream, and left me with a distinct heavy feeling. In the dream, we were in the rain, and it was full of contaminants and was an acid rain. Then a translucent, iridescent being asked me if they could take an X-ray of my lungs. I said no, and he left. There was not really any terror, not what I would classify as an abduction. I'm wondering if acid rain is anything that ties into the bigger scheme of things, or if that is something else we have to look forward to. That was interesting dream, and I'm thinking that being could have been like a scientist, and because there are ETs that are here studying the human race and studying what's going on with our bodies and with the planet and everything, and they might have just were wanting to see you know, what condition your lungs were in. And it doesn't sound like abduction to me. It just sounds like a contact experience from maybe another dimensional being. And I do believe that a lot of the ETs are from other dimensions. And so the way we perceive them, or when we're in a dream state, that's where we can interface with them, where we're you know, in the dream state rather than focused on physical, and then we can interface with them, and they can communicate with us. And but no, I don't think it was an abduction. And the fact that he went away when you said no, I think it's a sign that it was a being that respected your wishes. So it was not a bad encounter at all. And the acid rain, I think you're dreaming of the future. And I think that we are having acid rain, definitely, because of the Fukushima radiation that's always in the atmosphere and getting more and more and more, along with that toxic soup that we look at on cams all the time. And as more things happen with the nuclear reactors and things, there will be more acid rain. So thank you for sharing that, Doogie Dog. And I think you had a prophetic dream. That's what I think. So just thank you for being here, and just ask for protection. Just pray for protection. Todd Garfield remarks on my video from yesterday regarding sulfur dioxide. He says something is happening off the coast of California at the southern tip of the Cascadia. The swarm of 3s and 4s in the same location that reports of volcanic basalt was washing up about 8 months ago. I'm convinced an underwater volcano has been erupting near that location. Of course, we would never be told this. Very well could be, Todd, and we're going to see some more earthquakes in that location today too. And I'm with you. We would not be told, and because they don't want us being alarmed. But I think that you're absolutely right. It very well could be underwater volcano activity. And you know, volcanoes and earthquakes go together. And then Alfred Phillips. Oh, and thank you, Todd, for that comment. Alfred Phillips, who I don't think I have seen his comments here before, leaves a couple. He says, I live on the Chukchi Sea coast. Is there any methane leak on or near my area of Wainwright, Alaska, western Arctic coast region? Well, let's take a look. So I looked up Wainwright, and it's right up in this area of Alaska, right on the coast. And it looks like there is some methane releasing. It's not in the red or that dark brown zone, but it looks like there has been a wave of methane coming over. And Alfred, if you'll go back and look through my earlier videos, I've been showing methane from every single day that I get it, and it is coming up. If you look at the end of Wednesday, there was a little release right along the coastline there that would have been about in the 2,000 parts per billion region. And then on Thursday, about the same. And then if we run that movie again, we can see it coming up a little bit higher in that area. Now, where we saw that burst was over here in Canada, but in the summertime we do see more releasing up there in Alaska. So whenever you see like the lighter greens and going into the yellow and the reds, that's where you're going to have methane releases. And they changed this ledger, this color ledger, back in December, and even this bright green, that's like 1980 parts per billion, that bright green. So it's all relative. You know, we've got methane everywhere. It's all relative. So you don't have as much release as a lot of other places. So thank you for tuning in, Alfred, and thank you for your comment. Future A to B says, thanks, Margo, for your comments. You're welcome. I know many cannot live without believing in something, including myself. It can be some spiritual, it can be something that controls everything. It just helps one personally to have something to believe in. And I'm going to stop there for a moment. And that's absolutely true, future A to B. And belief is, I think belief is different than hope. But belief gives you hope and gives you a focus and gives you a guiding principle and guiding things on where to look and how to be, and it kind of sets down your standards. And so I think you hit the nail on the head here, that everyone needs something to believe in. So I'm totally with you on that. And then continuing, why there is life, why there is a universe or many universes, just makes you wonder something, God, or just physically laws of nature creates life. You just wonder why everything in our universe comes to order. Yeah, you do wonder. And I think it's because there is an intelligence that puts things in order. And you can call it a creator or God or a divine intelligence or whatever you want to call it, but it does put things in order. And he goes on, I'm thinking of the order chaos theory so that life is possible. After our universe has burned out and all atoms and quarks are ripped apart, I'm sure something comes together again, and that our universe, or a universe similar to ours with the same physical laws, starts all over again with a new Big Bang. But of course, let us not destroy ourselves and life on Earth. We just must go sustainable and not use all resources on Earth which can trigger and destroy our atmosphere with an uncontrollable domino effect. I hope we'll be better in future in controlling our emissions and help Earth in recovering itself again. Yeah, and you know, I would hope that too. I don't have a lot of hope in seeing that happen, but I would hope that if we have a chance again somewhere on another planet, that we don't make the same mistakes we made here. So thank you, future A to B. I appreciate you being here and your comment. Sensible Hair says, relentless reporting. Thanks, Margo. You're welcome. And then Stephen K. says, Margo, I've been watching this channel since last summer, but have never left a comment. I first wanted to say that I appreciate the part in your last video where you talked about death. It just so happens that my grandfather actually just left this world a few hours ago as of now. So whenever that kind of thing happens, it's always a reminder that we all will have our time eventually. I still have fear about my own death, but your perspective on it was very helpful. Secondly, I wanted to say I'm impressed by how smart you are and your dedication to this channel. You remind people that you are not a climate scientist, and I also recall you have a degree in music, which is very admirable by itself. Yet you seem to understand all this very well, certainly more than I do. You do a great service for us, and you should be proud of that. I actually took the holidays off from all this, but I'm back, and we'll be needing you and others like you as we head into spring and the summer of 2019. Thanks for being such a calming voice as you deliver this horrible, depressing news day after day. It is appreciated. Well, first of all, thank you, Stephen, for being here and watching my videos, and thank you for speaking up and commenting and sharing with us. And I'm sorry for your loss for your grandfather, and I'm praying for safe passage for him now that he's crossed over. And you know, like I said, when I worked in hospice, it really I liked it because it put me in touch with the unseen realm. You know, right there, I mean, you're right on the verge, right on the edge between life and the transition. And I found it, even though it was draining and difficult many times, I found it exhilarating too. And until you've been around it, it's hard to understand that. And then thank you for the rest of your comment too, and your kind words. And I have a master's degree in music, in piano performance. It was a double major, piano performance and piano pedagogy for teaching. And so I taught piano lessons for, I don't know, 25 years. And I always had to have a day job, and so I worked secretarial jobs and office jobs because my typing and my office skills were so good, and taught piano lessons, and then retired from that, and then went on and did a whole bunch of other stuff, and just went down a lot of rabbit holes. So thank you for your kind comments. And thank you for being here, and we'll just keep moving forward and deal with whatever we have to. DDSB says, yes, there are a million ways to die, in addition to the slow motion car wreck we are witnessing with climate. For example, I went out in public yesterday and wasn't shot by some idiot with a gun. I think we are all walking around in a semi-state of PTSD, living in a terrorist state without any real protections from our so-called government. Yeah, I agree with you, DDDSB, and in addition to that, I think those of us who know about what's coming, I've developed a new term, and I call it pre-traumatic stress. Instead of post-traumatic stress, it's pre-traumatic stress that we're experiencing because we see we're on a collision course. We're on the train. We're on a collision course with whatever, and we can't stop the train, and it's just going faster and faster and faster, and we're going to crash. And so we see it, and so we know it's going to be bad. And so I think we're all experiencing pre-traumatic stress syndrome, in addition to post-traumatic stress syndrome from living in our society. So hopefully the more we can understand this and be prepared, the less trauma we'll have around all the crap that happens. So thanks for being here, DDSB, and glad you didn't go out there and be a victim, that you didn't end up being a victim because of the idiots and everything. So be checking in with us. An Environmental Coffee House says, such interesting material. Thank you, Sandy. Thank you for checking in. And then Nostradamus, aka Dave from England, says, and this is his theory on his theory of life. First there was the Big Bang, energy condensed into subatomic particles. They condensed into hydrogen. Gravity formed stars which exploded to form all the known elements. New stars and planets were created from the dust. We have a nice stable sun. Theia crashed into the new early Earth to create the moon and the seasons. We have a protective magnetic field. Molecules come together to form simple proteins. Then this happened. And it's a link to evolution. All life should be cherished. It's amazing we're all here at all. Much love to everyone, Dave. Yeah, it is amazing. I think it's a miracle. And it's a miracle of life. And I think it's a miracle that we're all here together and that we're able to come together and share and witness in this most amazing time in the history of the cosmos. So thank you, Dave. Much love to you too. John Kelly says, boy, you list every quake, even the ones that are less than 1.0. Yeah, John, and I think the small ones are important. And in fact, yesterday or day before, Dutch Sense said that some university came out and proved that small quakes lead to bigger quakes. It's now been proven by some university somewhere that a bunch of small quakes eventually leads to larger quakes, or that they can. So that's why I'm reporting on them. Thank you for your comment. Thank you for being here. Then Fred Blogg says, Guy McPherson reckons a massive release of methane is due to escape any time soon. Well, thank you for your comment, Fred. I think it is releasing, and I think it is massive what we're seeing up in the Arctic. It's I don't know what that gigaton burst is going to look like. It might be flashing over the screen, but I think what we're seeing here over coming out of Novaya Zemlya over and over and over is pretty massive. So just wait until the summer. That's all I can say. So that's all of our comments to review today, or to go over. And I'm going to get that print as our background. And now we're going to go to earthquakes. Okay, what we have here is USGS pulled up for all magnitudes for the last 24 hours. They're showing 161 earthquakes worldwide. And then if we look at magnitudes 2.5 and larger or higher, there are 42 worldwide. So you can see there's been a lot of activity coming down this this San Andreas Fault, this Pacific coast, and then down along the coast of South America. So let's see what earthquakes are about to fall off the map, and let's cover those first. There's a 4.4 down here in Putre, Chile, that happened yesterday at 5:26 p.m., 158 kilometers deep. 3.6 near Petrolia, California. Now I want to go ahead and show that area before that falls off the map. And I'm going to go to all magnitudes for that right up here. This is the area that Todd Garfield was talking about, where this is the Pacific Plate, and this is the San Andreas Fault Line. This is the Juan de Fuca Plate, and there's been a lot of activity here. In the last 24 hours, there have been 5. So I'll just call them off. There's a 3.6 that happened yesterday at 5:38 p.m. Pacific Time. 3.0 that happened at 11:37 last night. A 4.5 that happened at 2:18 this afternoon. A 3.4 that happened at 3:13 this afternoon. A 4.1 that happened at 3:43 this afternoon. And a 3.7 that happened at 4:05 this afternoon. So this is ramping up definitely in magnitudes and numbers, and so this is right at the juncture point with that Cascadia fault zone, right at it. So there's that. I think I need to close out some browser windows. I'm going to close out this one. Now I think it was slowing everything down. So there's that. So now let's go those are large. I mean and they're happening, a bunch of them this afternoon. So hang on. Okay, so continuing, let's see what else is about to come off the map. There's a 2.5 near Big Lake, Alaska. 3.1 near Miches, Dominican Republic. These are gonna fall off after 6 something. So we'll just go ahead with the report. I'd like to go ahead and cover South America next. Here was a 4.8 that came in at Ayapel, Chile yesterday at 6:56 p.m., 26.6 kilometers deep, and it was in the ocean just off the coast of Ayapel, right on that red line. Here was a 4.2 near Acari, Peru, that came in today at 1:18 this morning, 42 kilometers deep. This one was actually on land. Now 4.2 is not big enough to really cause damage, but it's big enough to feel. Now here's that big one I was telling you about, a 5.0 near Sacua, Ecuador, that came in last night at 7:03 p.m., 100 kilometers deep. And all these times are Pacific time because I've got this set to local time for me. So here it is. And remember on cams where we saw the sulfur dioxide, We saw that come up over here on the east side, kind of over here, so almost directly straight across. Of course, it's a long way, but could this earthquake be in relation to that release? I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I'm saying that they can be related to earthquakes. So this was 100 kilometers deep, a 5.0. That's big enough to do damage if it was in a populated area, but it looks like it was in the mountains. I don't see any towns directly nearby. They're saying this was 36 kilometers southwest of Sakua. So I'm not even seeing Sakua on the map. So there's that. So now let's move on to down here on the in the South Sandwich Islands. We had a 4.6. This is an active area because it's right at the edge where all these different plates come in together. Near Bristol Island, South Sandwich Islands, that came in last night at 10:25 p.m. right there on the red line. Then let's move over across the Pacific over here to north of New Zealand. They consider this part of New Zealand because there's an island up here. That's part of New Zealand, but we can see it was pretty much just in the ocean. It was a 4.9 near or 283 kilometers south-southwest of L'Esperance Rock, New Zealand. It came in last night at 10:11 p.m. 35 kilometers deep. So this is an area that we have to watch because this fault line goes directly to the east of that northern island, and then it cuts across that southern island in New Zealand. It's a very active area. It wasn't very deep, so 4.9, and it was in the ocean. Didn't do any damage, but is showing movement. Then over here was a 4.9 off the coast of Papua New Guinea, near Vanimo, Papua New Guinea. Came in at 5:26 this morning. Then there was another one over here off the coast of Maluku, one of these Indonesian islands. It was a 5.4 that came in last night at 11:36 p.m., 35 kilometers deep. So if you want to see if there was a tsunami warning, you go here and then you go to the list and see if you can find that one on the list. So that was the 5.4. That wasn't Tonga though. Here's the date. Actually, it's not on the list. So if it's not on the list, here's the date of the earthquake. Here's the magnitude and the depth, and here's the location. And then they give these messages and they give updates and different things. So that's not on the list. So that did not create a tsunami warning. So if that had been on land, that could have caused damage. Then over here is a 4.5 near Mayang Imphal, India. This came in at 9:20 this morning. 61 kilometers deep. Again, 4.5. It's getting up there. Probably didn't do any damage, depending on if it was in a populated area or not. Here's where it was, right by this river. Here's Kokching. And then up here in Afghanistan, a 4.1 near Oshkosham, Afghanistan, came in at 3:10 this afternoon, 115 kilometers deep. Then over here in Greece, we've got another one in the Mediterranean Sea, right off this little island here, 4.3 near Latakia. It came in at 10:08 last night. And when it says 10 kilometers deep, that's their default depth that they post if they don't know how deep it was. So I've quit saying 10 kilometers deep now that I've found that out. So that's on that red line. So that's all of these over here. That's all of these from South America. Now let's go up here into the Aleutian Islands. Let's go to all magnitudes for this. Oh wait, okay, we've gone over to all magnitudes to look at these earthquakes up here in the Aleutian Islands. There have been 3 on the map here. 5.1 near Shemya Island, Alaska, that came in last night at 10:45 p.m., 48 kilometers deep. That's good size. Here's a 1.7. I'm not seeing where that is. I'm seriously not seeing where that is. Near Unalaska, Alaska, that came in at 12:23 this afternoon, 35 kilometers deep. And 4.4 here at Shemya Island again at 4:44 this afternoon, 14 kilometers deep. So while we're up here, let's go ahead and here was that 1.7 at Unalaska. It was so small I couldn't see it. So now let's look at the rest of these. We've had some larger ones. Let's go to 2.5 magnitude and higher, and let's cover the larger ones first. Then we'll look at all magnitudes. Let's start up here. 3.7 near Koktovik, Alaska at 9:40 this morning. Here's a 3.3 near Arctic Village at 11:11 last night. Here's a 2.8 near Point Hope. This one was out in the Bering Sea, or the Bering Strait, the Chukchi Sea. And that came in at 10:08 this morning. Then 3.2 near Chignik Lake at 4:55 this morning. 2.9 near Kodiak came in at 6:26 this morning. 2.6 near Big Lake came in at 1:12 this morning. So now let's go to all magnitudes. And we've got 62 on the map here. And Alaska averages between 50 and 100 earthquakes a day. It's a highly active area for seismic events and also volcanoes. And these islands, these are volcanic islands, and there are like 100 volcanoes all the way through this area and throughout Alaska. Most of them are not active, but a lot of them are active. So Anchorage is where they cluster, and on the map here is 48, including these going around this ridge here. But they're clustered up here in the Anchorage area, and then peppered throughout the state. So now, while we're on the Pacific side of the world, let's see what's going on with Hawaii. Okay, we got this one down here that's 134 kilometers south-southwest of Hawaiian Ocean View in the ocean, that came in at 1:47 this afternoon, 5 kilometers deep. Then here's one off the coast of Pahala that came in. It was a 2.5 that came in at 2:25 this afternoon. There are 14 earthquakes total on this map. So let's zoom in and see what else we've got. Here's 2.2. Here's 1.8. Here's 1.8. Got 2 right here in the Mauna Loa area. 1.9 and a 2.2. Now look at this 1.9. It says it came in at 4:09 this morning, and it was a minus 0.4 kilometers depth. And we talked about this, and I mention it in every show, that when it's a minus depth like that, the epicenter of the earthquake is up in the mountain or in the hill, and so it's above ground level since it's a negative depth, and so it shows that magma is moving and moving up in the chamber. Then this is Kilauea. This is the Kilauea crater. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in this area. So let's call these off. 1.8. This was at 0 kilometers depth. 1.9. The biggest one was the 2.4. This was up minus 0.7 kilometers depth. So that was magma up in the mountain. It's movement. And then a 1.7. This is at a minus 0.4 again up in the mountain, and 2.1 at 2 kilometers depth. So this is a highly active area, so magma is moving around there. And then there was one more up here, 2.1 near Waimea, that happened at 4:56 this morning. So that's the report from Hawaii. Now let's hop over to Dominican Republic. Down here in the Caribbean Sea. We're showing 11 here today. And remember we had this cluster up here at Punta Cana? Well, it's back. It looks like it's back. So 11 total, all magnitudes. So most of them are small. I'll just call them off, but some of them are bigger. Here's a 3.2, right up here that happened at 6:40 last night. Here's a 2.2 right down here. It happened at 7:05 last night. 2.5 near San Juan, Puerto Rico. That happened at 8:22 last night. 2.1 near Rincon, Puerto Rico. That happened at 10:42 last night. Then we're back up here on 3.3 that happened at 11:11 last night. That's the second one we saw at 11:11. Then a 2.9 over here near Charlotte, Amalie, U.S. Virgin Islands, that happened at 12:17 this morning. 1.7 looks like that was on land near Espino, Puerto Rico. That happened at 12:25 this morning. 2.2 near Rincon, Puerto Rico, happened at 1:46 this morning. 3.3 back up here. That happened at 3:26 this morning. This one was 100 kilometers deep. 2.6 near Meachus at 12:41, and a 3.1, the same area, they're all stacked up there, at 1:24 this afternoon. .98 kilometers deep. So this 12:41 was at 12:41 this afternoon. If I said morning, I meant this afternoon. So there's that. So you can see that cluster right there. Now, let's go over to the United States. We're going to start with this one in Texas to the east-southeast of San Antonio. It was 3.0. They're calling it 25 kilometers east of Nixon, Texas. That happened at 9 o'clock last night, 5 kilometers deep. That's pretty good size, and that's not in an earthquake zone. Then, up here at Yellowstone, we've got a lot of activity. Here's this little one. We'll get this one out of the way. It was a 0.9 near Three Forks, Montana, that happened at 2:34 this morning. But I'm going to zoom in to this Lincoln, Montana area. And so all of these have happened right here. There are 11, all in this Lincoln, Montana area. And they started, now this one, Helena Valley, this was a 1.0 at Helena Valley over here. Okay, so that was the only one. I'm going to move over and get that one off the map. That was at 10:24 last night. Now, so we've got 10 on the map for this area. We've got, and they started last night at 11:39. Here was a 1.0 at near Lincoln, Montana. And then all of these started at 9:11 this morning. Strange number, huh? 9:11 this morning, Pacific time. There was a 3.9 right here. That's large for this area. 2.4 happened at 9:17. A 3.3 happened at 9:19. 2.3 happened at 9:22. 1.8 happened at 9:29. 1.9 happened at 9:36. 2.8 happened at 9:45. 2.6 happened at 9:48. And 1.2 happened at 9:55. So we had a swarm. All of these happened in less than an hour, starting with that 3.9 at 9:11 this morning. So this is part of that Yellowstone area. Even though Yellowstone is down here, this is part of that hazard zone and the caldera that goes all the way up. And so this is sign of movement of the magma. And the small earthquakes can lead to larger earthquakes. Remember that. You're not out of the woods just because you have small earthquakes. Okay, let's go up to the northwest. We've got one up here near Seabeck, Washington, and 1.2 that came in at 3:45 this afternoon, a minus 0.2 kilometers depth. Again, this was up in the mountain, showing movement. There's no blasting today because it's Super Bowl Sunday, and all the blasters are up at the Super Bowl watching, yelling and screaming at football and all that. I'm not a football fan. I never was. Alright, now here's the Reno area. We've got one little one up here near Cold Springs of 0.3 and 0.8 up in the mountains north of Incline Village. Sorry. Then over here at Dayton we have two. Here's a 1.5 and a 1.4. These came in within 3 minutes. 3 minutes. This one came in at 3:06 this morning, and this one came in at 3:09. So I just find that interesting. Now let's come on down to Nevada, through Nevada. There's not much activity today because it's Sunday. The earthquake makers are not at work. 2.5 near Gabbs, 1.1 near Hawthorne, and then here's a few down here in the Hawthorne area. These are ones and under. Here's a 1.0 near Goldfield. Nothing in southern Nevada. And we'll back out, make sure we got those. Alright, now let's go to California. Okay, Northern California is clear. And we covered all of these over here near Petrolia. 5 over there. Nothing at the geysers. That's unusual. Now down here in the San Francisco area, this is near that, remember the Hayward Fault goes to the east of the bay. Here's a 2.3 near Green Valley. We've got 2 right here. Here's a 1.5 near Vine Hill and a 2.1 near Vine Hill. Then coming on down this west side, here's one on the red line, San Andreas Fault Line, a 2.1 near Pinnacles. Eerily quiet. This is what happens on a Sunday, and a Super Bowl Sunday, And all the earthquake makers are not at work. The blasters are not at work. Very quiet, very creepy. It's almost creepy to see it this quiet. Now in Southern California, we've only got 19 on the map today, as opposed to 50 or 60 normally. But look at these lined up in the Salton Sea. Now that's interesting. And the San Andreas Fault comes right down here, right on the eastern side of the Salton Sea, and then picks back up here and becomes the Imperial Fault. So this is right near that fault line. And we've got 1.4, 1.6, 1.3, and 1.3, all in that Salton Sea. Here's a 2.5 near Borrega Springs. That's a little bit larger, getting into the larger range. .4 near Aguanga, 1.5, 1.6 Ocotillo, 1.1 near Julian, 1.2 near Borrega. Let's see how many are at Cahuilla today. Not very many. 12. 12 on the map today. 2.4, that's the biggest one. So, eerily quiet down there. Now let's come up this east coast and we'll finish up. Here's a 1.2 near Little Lake. Here's a 0.2 over here in Death Valley. Here's a 1.1 near Lone Pine. And a 1.3 near Big Pine. And 0.2 near Big Pine. And then up here, 1.2 near Mammoth Lakes. Then here's another one, 1.6 to the east of Mammoth Lakes. And here's a 1.9 near Bridgeport. This is Mono Lake here. So this is directly east of Mono Lake. There's actually, looks like two there. 1.9 and a 1.6. Right on top of each other, stacked up. So I think that's it. This ended up being a long report today. I apologize. But we had a lot to cover. So let's back out and see what might have come in. This one's new. There's a new 4.7 near Angaram, Papua New Guinea that came in at 5:19 this afternoon. Let's look at that. It's in the water on that red line. I think that's the big one. The biggest one. Oh, look, here's another one. Here's another new one. Now they're just coming in. Here's a 4.7 near Ponta Guitan, Philippines, in the water, in the ocean, right on this red line. Came in at 5:35 this afternoon, 112 kilometers deep. I took a little break before I started the earthquake report, so maybe that's why they're all coming in now. So I'm going to wrap it up there. I think that's all of them. We saw that 4.4 near Shimya Island. We saw these at Petrolia. Yeah, that's it. So I will wrap it up for today. And like I say in all of my shows, we're in the end times. I do believe that. And I recommend that everyone get their spiritual houses in order while you have time. And get right with God and Jesus. And I love all of you very much. And until next time, God bless you, and go in peace, and good night.